Today, I want to talk about postpartum depression. Postpartum depression. I feel like there is still a stigma with mothers that have postpartum depression. I feel like there's a lot of shame about women that have postpartum depression because of just how society is. And if you're like, who the heck are you, girl? My name is Lesline. I am your favorite nurse yogi. I have been a registered nurse for 12 years, and I went through my own bout of postpartum depression, like personally. And it was like I thought I had it. I was not technically diagnosed, but I had what is called postpartum intrusive thoughts that scared the shit out of me. Okay. And there was a lot of shame that I had with having just those, not even just, because I don't want to minimize thoughts because they happen in your body, right? And so you think you are those thoughts. And I'm here to tell you, shout out to my therapist. This released me. You are not your thoughts. So let me say that again. You are not your thoughts. And I remember when my therapist first told me that, I said, that don't make sense, therapist lady, because the thoughts are in my head. Is my head connected to my body? Like, girl, what we talking about, right? But it's true because when you think about it, you are not your thoughts, right? And if you want me to, like, if you have further questions about that, so me, what was my story, right? I have two children. My daughter is 6. My son is 7. They are 18 months apart. Also, so my son was born 2018. My daughter was born 2019. And then 2020 was the pandemic, right? So I had two kids under 2 during the pandemic. That was a lot. Just having the children under 2 during a pandemic. Okay? All right. So there's that. And then I'm also have these two children. And I remember the day like it was yesterday when I had these postpartum intrusive thoughts. We were downstairs and my daughter, she was very colicky at the time, right? And I also remember that I felt like I was still playing catch up with my son. Like I was just like my body was like, damn, like you didn't even get to recover. And also I had 2 C-sections. So my body's like, damn, like it was a lot. So I remember so with my son, I breastfed him for 6 months. And I'm giving myself big kudos for that because I had to go back to the people's job within 6 weeks. So my son was in daycare at 6 weeks old. I had a lot of shame about that because a lot of the people that I know, they fortunately were with their child for the first year. Like they got to be home with them. That was not my story. And I still kind of I still have a little tenderness about that because I remember when I tell you I was committed to breastfeeding him, at the time, I don't really know if in my head I was like, oh, I'm going to breastfeed him for a year. Cause typically that's what, is what they recommend. But I was just like, I'm going to breastfeed him. I didn't have an end goal in mind, but I was just like, I have to breastfeed him because it's just that innate instinct of mother and child. You as a mom, you know what I'm talking about. You're just like, I have to do this. Even if you are so tired, you're just like, I have to feed my child. So the daycare was maybe less than 2 miles away from my job. So I would literally clock out of the people's job. And at this time I worked in the office. All right, y'all. So I would clock out of the people's job, get in my Jeep, miss that Jeep. That's another story. But I'd get in the Jeep and then go to the daycare and I would, ding dong, get in and I would sit. They would let me, which of course, why wouldn't they? If a daycare doesn't let you breastfeed your child, that's strange. They should encourage moms, parents to bond with their kids as much as possible, right? Especially if you have to work like I did. So I did that for about a few weeks. And then I was like, okay, this is becoming taxing, right? I have meetings, I need to eat, or I didn't have enough milk. It was a lot, right? But I remember doing that. I was committed. With my daughter, though, like I said, my body was like, damn. We're going through, it's too much. So with my daughter, hello, printer? Okay. With my daughter, I remember being in our bed and we just came back from the hospital, right? And I put her on my boobie, and I was like, it was too painful. I was like, you're getting formula. And so there's that. I felt so, as I'm saying that out loud, I feel bad saying that, but I was just like, I can't. You're biting me. It's painful. I don't want to, right? So I was like, you're getting formula, and I'm not going to feel bad about it, even though I did, right? So there's that. So because we're giving her formula, of course she's gonna be more colicky because it's not natural, right? It's not the tit. So that was why she was like really colicky. She's colicky. She's crying nonstop. My son is just bouncing around like the bouncy thing. And I remember thinking to myself, and this is where I will always say my yoga, specifically the mindfulness aspect of yoga, saved my life. That's why I always say, and this is a reoccurring theme, I say that yoga saved my life because it did. Because in this very moment, when my daughter would not shut up, like that's how I felt, two intrusive thoughts came in. The first intrusive thought was, I just want to end it. Like that's as clear as I can say it to you. It was like, I just want to end my life. Like my kids will be better without me, right? And then the next thought is what I was like, what? The next thought was like, I want to end her life as well. And I just was like, I had an out of body experience where I jumped out of this body. I jumped out. I looked at the Leslie that had those thoughts. Remember, we are not our thoughts, but I did look at that Leslie and I judged her. I said, girl, you cannot have those thoughts. You cannot have those thoughts. Like, you're a nurse. You're a nurse. You're a nurse. Nah, 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 nah. Right? It sounds stupid, but like that was like one of the first things I thought after those two thoughts. And why I say mindfulness saved me here is because I was mindful of the thoughts I had. Unfortunately, there are stories that we hear, right? Where they're like, the mom just, deleted the children and then deleted herself. Or sometimes the mom just deleted the children and then like the mom is never the same after that. And it's because, well, there are other chemical imbalances, right? And I'm not here to say that mindfulness is a cure. That's why I'm being so careful with how I'm saying the word. So just bear with me. But that mom was not mindful of the thoughts that she had. And when I teach yoga classes, I am a certified yoga teacher as well. I love to say, put each thought into a cloud. Put each thought into a cloud, right? And as clouds pass in the sky is the same way that you place those thoughts, because you are not your thoughts. You just place those thoughts into the clouds, one thought per cloud, and allow the clouds, those thoughts to pass on by, right? And also what you're doing here is you're identifying, okay, I'm having this thought of wanting to harm myself. Why am I having this thought? Okay, senses wise. How did I drink water? Senses wise. She is crying and it's really loud. In my hearing, it's really loud. That's another sense. So you take note of each of your senses, right? And that will help you calm down, right? I will also preface this here. After I had those two thoughts, right, I then immediately went on therapyforblackgirls.com. My gosh, and I will try my best to leave that as a resource as well. That should still be like, because I have a couple of resources. It's the nurse in me. I am going to give you a resource, like, especially because I know this is just a topic that doesn't get enough. Okay, hold on. I think they changed, y'all. Oh, okay. Therapyforblackgirls.com. They're 10 years old now. Saved me. I went on this website because I think it was maybe the Read podcast. It had to be the Read or the Friend Zone, one of those podcasts where I just kept hearing about it in passing, and it's just powerful, right? In the sense of how media can truly help people. And so I was like, let me go on this Therapy for Black Girls website. After I had those thoughts, my daughter is still crying, mind you. And I found, you put your zip code. I found, I think, 3 therapists. And I called all 3, and one called me back within 10 minutes. And it was like, I truly believe this as well, that, how people say, like, content creation is oversaturated. There's too much coaches. Like, there's too much therapists. There's too much. That is scarcity, because I truly believe that that's not true. I don't believe we have enough credible people in those industries, right? So the people that are credible, like, and are mindful, right, of their time and not pouring from their own cup, they are like, I can only take 60 patients or whatever. Like, they are like, this is my caseload. I cap at this, right? So with that being said, like, I'll just give those other two therapists the benefit of the doubt. They're probably maybe they were actually on the couch with a patient, right? But the one therapist that called me back, we were meant to be like together. Like, she was supposed to be my therapist. I was searching for her. And shout out to Glow, and that's why I'm doing this 100-day yoga challenge. But she said something, I believe, on Instagram where she was like, you have to create like somebody is looking just for you. And like, that did something to me, because as a yoga teacher who's also a nurse, and I have my own 12-week wellness program that I also leave down below, I catch myself like, well, nobody's bought yet. There's already so many coaches out there that are offering a 12-week health program. Like, what makes me different? And that same way that my therapist called me back that day, like, there's people that are looking for me. And, you might be that person that's like, I need to work with you. I am not a therapist. I will say that again. I am not a therapist, but my health program is a holistic health program that helps you preventatively. So I give you meditations. I give you physical, like, yoga classes. So stretches. I give you journal prompts. I give you nutrition advice. I give you like mindset. It's a chock full of information, and I'll leave it below so you can get more information on that. But back to the personal story. So the therapist called me back, and I was seen within, I don't want to say it was like that day, but it was like within the next couple of days, right? So I saw her, and I remember this. She was like, bring your daughter, and she loved the BBs. And so I remember bringing my daughter. And I remember this wasn't the first appointment, but I remember this one appointment particularly when I brought her. And because I said the girl was colicky, she burped up, like, typical baby stuff, like formula. Well, what happened was this. I brought my daughter to my appointments. Like, I did that the first few sessions, which I really appreciated, because that's something else. Like, as a new mom, you're like, I can't do anything. You're like, girl, you want me to do therapy? Like, I can't even leave the house. And, there is virtual therapy, but I always encourage, if you can go in person and like be physically in the same room as your therapist, try to do that. And then ask. Like, my therapist, I didn't ask because I was scared to ask, because I was like, I don't want her to like deny me. But ask your therapist, like, hey, I'm a new, and especially if you have a therapist, because now there are, I actually recently did a speaking engagement where I shared this story, and there was a therapist that was one of the vendors, and she is a maternal mental health therapist. Like, that's her niche. So when you look for a therapist, make sure you look for like maternal mental health, or type in like postpartum depression, those type of phrases when you're looking for a therapist, because not all therapists are well versed in maternal mental health. So when you find a therapist like that, then it'll be more easy to be like, hey, can I bring my baby? Like, especially if the baby's under a year old, like, you need to be bonding as much as you can with your child, right? So they should be like, yeah, that's fine. So I brought her because at the time I didn't know I could ask, but I'm educating you now. Ask. The worst they could say is no. And if they say no, maybe find somebody else, right? So I bring my daughter, she burped, and then my therapist was like, because it's also like distracting. I'm just going to call a thing. So I remember bringing her, and I was kind of distracted because the girl was colicky. How many times I'm going to say that? But so I'm like trying to talk. The therapist is asking, how are you doing? La, la, la. How are the thoughts? Da, da, da. Right? This is my daughter. Okay. I'm bouncing. And then the therapist was like, here, you want me to hold her? And I was like, please. So I give over my baby to the therapist, and she starts burping her for me because she's a mom too. So she started burping her, and then my daughter throws up on the therapist. I don't even know if there was like, I think it went over the burp cloth, and I was so embarrassed. And she's like, it's okay. Because, baby stuff, like, they just came out of the womb. Like, it ain't nasty. It's just like, so that was just a really sweet moment, because it just made me feel more seen, and I don't even know if it was seen, that's the word, but it's just like, wow, like she actually cares about me and she's actually physically supporting me. And it does bring me, like, I didn't realize I still kind of get a little sensitive about it. So went through those first few weeks of therapy, and then it's so interesting. It's so interesting how God brings people in your life. So at the same time, I'm still feeling a little low, right? I'm not having those thoughts again. And I will also say this too. I was not clinically diagnosed with postpartum depression. I did not have to take medication. But I still wasn't feeling like myself. So, it's like I was having the baby blues coupled with the postpartum intrusive thoughts. And the postpartum intrusive thoughts, they are more common than you think. What is concerning, right, is if you act on those thoughts, right? So that's, again, where mindfulness comes in, and where you're like, okay, you notice, like, okay, it's loud. I haven't drank water. I haven't eaten anything. Have I slept? And, as a new mom, you're probably not even getting 2 hours of sleep, right? So there's these things where you have to identify and also make sure, like, okay, what can I do so I can get more sleep? If you have a partner, talk with your partner, delegate certain things, right? If you're like, I haven't eaten, maybe reach out to a friend or two and be like, hey, can you do a meal train for me, right? So when you have your physical needs tended to, the intrusive thoughts will decrease typically. Again, if you have a chemical imbalance, then that's where you would hire a psychotherapist or a psychiatric mental health nurse practitioner, somebody that can do medication management with you and provide you those medications. A therapist does not do that, okay? A therapist cannot prescribe medication. They use cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT, but to talk through with you. I also will put this here. Through my postpartum journey, I decided to create my own product, which is the You Just Had a Baby self-care card deck, which is for new moms. So those things that I was just saying, each card gives you that as a piece of advice. So, like, connect with your baby is a card. Wear your baby by doing baby wearing. It may take a while to get to know your baby, and that is okay. Be gentle with yourself. That was something personal because I had both my kids C-section. So what that means is, like, I didn't push them out of me. They were cut out of me. So I didn't get that immediate bonding as a person that will birth, vaginally. So I remember, like, that baby wearing, I tried to do that. My midwife also suggested, taking baths with the baby and just, like, being in the bath in the water with the baby because babies like water, and then you're just bonding, like, doing those kind of things. So yeah, I'll leave that as a resource down below, and you can purchase that and just help you. Because if you're like, girl, like, I don't even know where to begin, you just pick one card a day and you focus on that task a day. So like I said, God was bringing people. So I had the therapist, and then, like I said, I was feeling low, and I was like, I was still craving, like, I needed more. I was like, this can't be my life. Like, I also say this here too. I didn't want to be a mom, and I feel like, like, I didn't. So, I was in love, and I'm like, I love my husband. And so you do what grown folks do, consent, that are consenting. You have sex, and then you have children. Like, that's just the way it goes. Right. And so, I say that because I was like, there is more that I'm supposed to do than just rear children. That's just my truth, okay? And so at that time, I was on Instagram, as just a consumer. I was just on there, and I saw this life coach, and I was like, I need her to give me the confidence, because that was her whole program, was like, I will help you be more confident, unfuckable, all these things. And I was like, yes, yes, yes. And so I paid $4,000, and this was in 2021, to do a 3-month coaching program with her. And so I worked with her, and I worked with a therapist. I will also say this here, you'd be like, $4,000? Like, if you're new to personal development and things like that, you might be like, like, I know, make sure you have some water, y'all, and I'm gonna drink my water too. $4,000 can seem like a lot if you're new to personal development. I took out a personal loan that I actually paid off last year. Shout out to doing content creation was how I was able to finally just pay it off. I am so proud of myself. That's another story. So I was like, I don't care. I took out the loan. I remember even sharing with my husband. I was like, I need to do this. I need to do this. And I also will say this here. At that time, I still hadn't told my husband that I had those intrusive thoughts. I just said, like, I need to go to therapy. Like that. I was like, I just need therapy. And my husband is supportive. Like, he just wants me to be happy. And, so he's like, okay, you know what I'm saying? And so let me just click out of this. So I was working with the life coach and the therapist simultaneously, and that transformed my life because the therapist was helping me work on my past. So we're also going to educate here. What is the difference between a therapist and a life coach? A therapist helps you work on your past, trauma, all the gunk, right? Okay. And the life coach, because I'm also certified as a life coach, I just don't really be talking about that as much. But a life coach, they help you. So that's why I'm saying I have that insight because I went through the coursework and got certified. The life coach helps you look at the future and they help you create goals. A therapist can also help you create goals. I will not say they can't, but with the life coach, it's very goal future. That's why I'm going like this. This is the past. This is the future. So the coach helps you focus on the future. Okay. And then also just helps you reprogram, like neuroprogramming wise, with your mindset, positive thoughts, those kind of things. And I truly believe you need both. I don't think you should just if you're new, right? And even if you're not, because whenever you go through a life transition, I feel like you need to have a therapist, a life coach on deck. And a life transition, in this case, is me just having 2 children back to back, right? I'm trying to see if there's anything else within that. So yeah, I worked through that. And then with the life coach I had, she was also a yoga teacher. And that's what I really admired about her was the yoga aspect, because yoga is something I've been so passionate about. I've been practicing yoga since 2009. So that was also what made me work with her, because I was like, okay, you're a life coach, but you're also a yoga teacher and you're a Black women's. Yes. I just need you in my life. And with that being said, this was also during the pandemic. This was during George Floyd. So there was a lot of organizations that were like, okay, we got to help Black people, right? It was the Black Square thing, eye roll. But there was a yoga school that reached out to my life coach, because my life coach has a big platform. She has a big community. And the yoga school was like, hey, we're offering this scholarship to anybody that's Black. All they got to do is be Black. They didn't even ask for your ID, y'all. But because obviously then you had to go on the live sessions and they see you. So if you lied, that would be silly. But so the school offered this. And so I remember the coach posted this in her community. She was like, such and such school is offering a free 200-hour yoga teacher training. And I was like, as I tell the story, every time I tell the story, I'm like, this is actually kind of wild, because I know that God was putting me on the path that I needed to be on. And it was through the pain of my of those thoughts, of the postpartum intrusive thoughts, of postpartum depression, right? Thinking I had postpartum depression, that through that pain, I found my purpose. So I was like, bet, I'm gonna take this, typical Black people shop. I'm gonna take this before it gets taken away from me. I ran through that coursework. Because I've had a few moments in life that I've had lows, right? So 2009 was not a low. I actually graduated from high school in 2009, but I was really bored right after graduating high school. And my friend at the time was the one that invited me to a yoga class, specifically a Bikram hot yoga class. And I loved it. I don't know if I'm a type A person, but when it comes to workouts, even though I don't teach my yoga classes like this, when I was first introduced to yoga, I liked that Bikram was pose 1 to 27, or, correct me if I'm wrong, but it's how you say your ABCs and you can't say H, A, D, you have to say A through Z, right? that's the same way that Bikram hot yoga is formatted. So it was like you start standing, then you do forward fold, then you come up sun sally. Like it was like a certain format, and you always followed that format no matter what. And I just liked that monotony because then it gave me that high, like mentally. So I did that in 2009, and then 2000. Then I went to college and all of that. And then 2016, my husband and I got married. We do what love people that are in love do, try to have a kid, and unfortunately had a miscarriage. And so it was in that moment that I came back to my yoga practice. And so what I'm getting at is the reason I was like, I'm going to snatch this yoga scholarship in 2021 is because yoga was always my saving grace, right? So in 2016, I come back to, 2016, 2017, I came back to my yoga practice just personally. I just went to, studios around me. And then in 2021, I have the postpartum intrusive thoughts, another low moment where I come back to yoga through way of just being mindful of my thoughts, right? And in that, I seek out a therapist, a life coach, and then I become certified as a yoga instructor myself because I'm just like, how does yoga make me feel this good? Woo! That was a lot, right? But let me just make sure I'm saying everything to y'all. So we talked about, I didn't really talk much about pregnant. Well, yeah, kind of birth, early postpartum. And I don't really know what I expected. I'm just looking at like the script. Like I said, I didn't want to be a mom. So it's like it's like now, if I'm gonna be really honest with you all, now I feel like a mom. Mind you, these kids are 6 and 7 years old. Now I'm like, oh, you's a mother. Because I don't know if it's because like now they can actually talk. They have their own thoughts. Their personalities are developing. And so now I'm like, okay, this is kind of fun. Like, you're helping just develop your children into the best humans that I would hope that they'll be, right? So now I'm feeling like a mother now. We talked about the emotional symptoms, physical symptoms. I will also say this too. Movement has always saved me. So, physical movement is so important. It's so important. And then knowing the signs, right? So like I shared with you all, like I was like, I'm a nurse. Like I can't be having, I don't know if you can see my dog. Do you see him? He's like right there. Because I put it on the option that it's gonna follow me. I don't know. Hopefully I'm not making y'all too dizzy. But yeah, so I was like, I'm a nurse. I can't have these thoughts. And like I used to work in the hospital, right? And so it's like with mental health in the hospital, it's very severe, right? It's very severe. So I'm like, okay, well, and there's like so many things we're having. I solidify in telling you that there was 2 thoughts, but it was also like, okay, well, I'm not tackling a mental health patient because I'm just thinking about the hospital. But everybody, we all have mental health. And it's either your mental health is well, I don't want to say it's good or poor. Like there's like gray in within that. But the same way that you have your physical health and you have to check your blood pressure, you have to check your blood sugar, you have to check your cholesterol levels, is the same way you have to check your mental health, right? And with mental health, it's a little more like intricate because it's all happening up here. But then also realizing the foods you eat, how you move your body, how much hours you're sleeping, that all affects your mental, right? And knowing that again, everybody has mental health. It's not just like the severe things I saw in the hospital. Like just because I'm not in that severe state does not mean I don't deserve to get treated, even with therapy. Therapy is treatment, okay? And then, there was that shame because I'm like, I'm a nurse. I shouldn't feel this way. I should know better mindset. That is a horrible mindset to have. Horrible, because you're just putting yourself in a hole. So just to recap, therapy, because I'm going to wrap this video up, therapy, support. So also, like I was telling you, I had therapy, I had support with the life coach. I didn't just have her as I worked with her one-on-one. So I'd meet with her every week for 12 weeks, once a week. but I also had her community. I had access to her community. And there's actually somebody I still talk to this day that I met from that community. So like that support, that community support, it also healed me. And so, yeah, I just want to close with letting you know that you are not alone. It is okay to ask for help. And I will see you. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, share this with another new mom. Or maybe you're not a new mom. Because I have friends that are child free. But they're always trying to help and support me in the ways that they can. And so if you're something like that you're like, I just like your energy, girl, and you watch this whole 30 minutes, thank you. But if you also have somebody in your life, a new mom, and you're just like, I don't know, like you're like, something is off with them. Like maybe they ghosted you, because that's one of my favorite things to do. I know it's bad. Just text them this video and be like, sending you love, you know? All right. I said enough. I will see you all in the next one. Bye for now.